Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Simon Byrne, a professional photographer, filmmaker and creative director with over 35 years commercial experience working for brands, publications and tourism organizations. If you're looking to improve your photography, you've come to the right place. Many photographers don't like shooting in the summer, particularly midday outdoors. It's bright, there are blue skies and bright green grass. Yuck. Well, I believe that's a really short-sighted attitude actually. Here are some ideas that might help you change your mind about shooting in the summer. Last month I was backpacking in Spain, and one morning I was walking up a very steep mountain. The weather was absolutely incredible. Warm and sunny, and the views spectacular. So of course I wanted to take some photos to capture this. Who wouldn't? By mid-morning it was so bright and everything was washed out with tones of hazy blue. Far from ideal conditions to do photography, right? So I could simply not bother getting my camera out. Not worth it. Or I could consider using two image editing options to make it work. I think black and white photography is the perfect solution for bright sunny days. We can get rid of all those nasty washed out colours and we can really focus on light and shadow, on contrast, and create some rather nice monochrome images. Those blue skies with fluffy white clouds that a lot of landscape photographers hate so much can look rather nice in black and white. Emulating vintage film stock or classic paintings is another option. Here's a typical sunny landscape shot, your typical tourist shot, I guess you could say, that shows a lot of distance. And I really hate that blue cast from all the haze when you've got an image like this that goes back into infinity. What people tend to do when processing photos in general is increase the contrast of their images to make them pop a bit more, give them a bit more punch, and they use the S-curve and even clarity. This not only creates contrast, it increases color saturation. It's a particularly bad way to edit this type of photo. Those nasty blues become even worse than they already were. This looks terrible. So my answer is to look at old photographs shot on film or classic paintings and see how bright sunny days were handled with those mediums. I've always been influenced by 18th century landscape painters. Images like this one don't include all the blue haze that we usually get during the day. Look at this, notice the yellow cast. Look at the midtones, they're muted yellow-green. The darker tones have a hint of red-brown, and the highlights are very warm yellow. This overall image is more red-brown. The midtones have red in, but the highlights on this one are more neutral. There's really not a lot of colour at all. Observation is everything, and I believe it's the best way to learn. Studying old paintings like this, I think we can learn a lot. We can really get a good idea of how we can process our images. Let's start with this image. I shot it earlier in the morning and it was very bright and hazy. This image doesn't feel balanced. It's split into two by both tone and colour. The sky is bright and blue and the bottom half is dark and green. So let's see how we can address this first with black and white. Better. There's lots of contrast in this image and one could argue colour isn't needed here. Now if I do work in colour, I need to make the sky darker, balance that contrast and introduce a colour that goes right across the image, that brings it all together. To do this I've chosen red-brown in the darker tones while taking out blues in the mid-tones and introducing a warm yellow in the lighter tones. This is working a lot better. And now for my favourite image of the day, or actually I should say favourite view. The image that I captured doesn't look much. I really love the trees on this hill and the simplicity of the shot. but the color version looks terrible. When we go to black and white, we find it works really well here because the trees become dark silhouettes and become the focal point of the image. Stripping away the color allows us just to work with tones, dark and light, and use that contrast to our advantage. I'll try some color options, going for subtlety and limiting the tonal range, a very vintage approach. I quite like this one. But no, black and white is best, in my opinion. Image editing is all about personal preference and opinion. I've talked in previous videos about intention, particularly with black and white photography. It's a personal belief of mine that we should intend to shoot something in black and white when we see a scene in front of us. So many people will shoot an image that they hope is going to work in color, and when they see it on their monitor they convert it to black and white hoping it's somehow going to improve, and sometimes it does. Anyway, again, personal opinion. I think we should shoot black and white with intention. And I did intend to shoot this one in black and white when I saw it. You just get used to sort of seeing colors and light and dark and knowing that, yeah, that's going to work in color and that's not. That just takes time. Anyway, if you want to see the black and white video about intention, you'll find it at the end of this video. It's worth a watch. Now with this next photo, I want to mention something that I've mentioned before and I will mention again in the future. A landscape shot with blue sky and fluffy clouds, bright sunny day is very appealing to the travel industry. Travel brochures, travel articles in magazines. This is the image that sells and has commercial value if that's something you're interested in. Those dark, moody images that a lot of landscape photographers strive for are not popular. They don't have as much commercial value, but hey, that's just an aside. We're probably doing this for our hobby, right? So now that's out of the way, let's make this image black and white and see if we can rescue it. Well, of course, it's not working. There's just too much going on. It's too busy. Again, this is a personal opinion. Some people may like this image and that's fine. It's just, I don't like it. What's appealing to me about this image is actually the people in it. They give a sense of scale and they hint at a story, a little bit of adventure happening there. And I think all of that is lost when it goes to black and white. We just see a mess of tones. I've got the feeling an 18th century painterly style or old Kodak film stock look is the way to go. Let's find out. A couple of points though. We have a tendency, as I mentioned before, to crank up the contrast and the saturation of our images. And this is something you absolutely do not want to do if you want to create that sort of painterly vintage vibe, because old film stock and old paintings aren't crisp and sharp and punchy. They tend to be very soft and subdued, very subtle. So don't touch the texture, clarity and dehaze sliders when you first start editing an image in this way. And I wouldn't even touch the curve tool either at this point. Just get your colors right first. With this image, I started introducing yellowy warm tones into the shadows, midtones and the highlights, using the painting as a reference. So we've gone from this to this. Less blues, more yellows and reds. It's looking nice. It has a vintage vibe, but I'm going to try another version. Yep, I love this one. I love the soft highlight roll off that really emulates film stocks and old paintings very well. When I started learning how to edit in Photoshop, I didn't take any courses or read any books or watch any videos. I just spent hours playing and experimenting and using other images as my influence. I think that's a good way to learn, is just to find something you like the look of and then just try and emulate it by playing. To become a better photographer in every aspect of the craft, you learn by observation. That's the key. There are no shortcuts and hacks. Well, now is the time to say, if you can't be bothered to put in the effort, buy my color preset packs for Lightroom and Photoshop. No, all the color presets I create are for me. They are not for sale and they never will be, because I don't believe in it. I think you need to learn by practicing, and probably the best place to start if you want a little bit of a help, is go to somewhere like Photoshop, and I'm sure Lightroom's got it as well, where they've introduced a bunch of color presets within the software, and just by clicking on some of those and seeing how the sliders have moved, that's a really good way to learn. Editing your image in the digital age is a key component to the creative photographic process. So to me, people that buy somebody else's presets just to copy them, you're just using their creativity, their creative vision. You've not brought anything into the process yourself. So you may as well just pay somebody to frame up your shot and click the shutter as well. That, of course, is just my opinion. I have nothing further to say other than I hope you found this of interest and it helped you, and thank you very much for watching. Now go and watch this video about intention with black and white photography, and I'll see you again real soon.